Lumos. Hello friends, welcome back to Shell Cottage Radio. I'm your host Ezra, aka Bill, also known as your friendly tech wizard and the former captain of the Hufflepuff Quidditch team, the Flannel Wizard, yours truly, me. Please welcome your lovely design witch, the fascination of fourth year, and my wonderful co-host and yours, Lottie, aka Fleur.
Hiya, schön, dass ihr da seid. Willkommen zurück to our little cottage on the outskirts of Tinworth. Come on in. This is the 19th episode of Shell Cottage Radio, in which we will discuss Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Chapter 11, Quidditch. Before we fire up today's chapter discussion, we will do a short little cottage catch-up, quiz bill trivia, and expand our knowledge about magical and fantastic beasts.
Okay, let's get this out of the way. Let's go ahead and start this. You guys, I think people have wondered whether or not Fleur and Bill ever fight, if they ever fight at the show cottage.
Never.
And I just want you guys to know, I want this recorded, that I attempted to set up the podcasting studio a little bit differently. I know you didn't think I was going to do this, but I'm going to do it because if I don't do it, I'm going to sit here grumpy this whole episode, and I'm just going to do this, okay?
Right now?
Yeah, right now. I'm doing it. No, I'm not. No,
Oh.
I'm not going to stop and start setting up. Could you imagine you just hear like clink, tink, cut? Sorry.
mean-
What if, because I'm like, I got to unplug the recording device here. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Crazy.
It's crazy. That was blur. What's the name again?
Brule.
Brule. It's Brule again.
We shouldn't call him Blur because that's Fleur and Bill and Fleur.
Brule. Yeah,
Brule.
Brule. Yeah.
Hey, can you do the, what did he say last episode? I don't know if you caught that, but I didn't even hear that last episode when we were recording the episode, but when I edited the episode, I was in tears when you were
when my phone went off?
Yeah, and it's like, oh, it's Brule again.
Yeah, it's all Brule again. You guys keep it down. Yeah, it was calling us, yeah. And actually, probably earlier was like, he heard us in here fighting about the setup. So just want to go ahead and throw it out there. I am not running the audio today. I'm not the tech wizard.
Yeah, I'm supposed to watch something here. I have no idea what, really.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm not even so sure it's recording. I don't even know if the episode's actually recording. It's all the way over there by you.
I mean,
on the
there's
bed.
some numbers.
Let's just say
a countdown.
Yeah, Lottie is sitting on the bed today. And
sweating.
One of the episodes, she was sitting on the floor. And the episode before that, she was sitting on a chair with her certain things in the floor, right?
I like a change of environment.
Yeah. So I like to come up to the podcasting studio, which is just a converted bedroom, and sit down and be able to have my drink on the right, my microphone coming into the left of my mouth, my keyboard there ready to go, looking across at someone instead of, literally she said to me earlier, why don't you just turn sideways and just stare at the wall and then just cock your head to the right and look over at me from time to time or whatever. I would show you guys what that looks like. It just is so embarrassing that I'm like, no, there's just not going to happen. So there's your college.
Oh yeah, college catch-up.
Bro is just all over the place. Cottage catch-up.
I thought about. Yeah, that's like about as dramatic as it gets between us.
That was the biggest fight we've had.
Oh my goodness.
I can't believe it. I can't believe you would not let me just set this up beforehand, but it's whatever, So this is why
Bill's clearly grumpy. But I can tell you something funny.
Sure.
I thought about I'd like to add some sounds and stuff here and there. And I thought about it as a little intro sound for the cottage ketchup. Well, what do you think about when what sound do you think about when you hear ketchup?
Like, yeah, right? That's what it would sound like.
And I was seriously thinking about but no, I don't want to.
That probably goes well. You know what you could do, though? The old-fashioned, like, glass ketchup bottles where you do, like, the have you ever heard? We'll buy one.
Yeah.
We'll buy one with some ketchup, and we'll pop the top. It makes, like, nice little, like, it comes off like that. And then when you tap the bottom, and you're doing the whole, like, okay, wait. Okay. Hold on a second. All right, enough of the sounds.
That was so much better.
Sorry, that was actually
include
not
that.
planned at all. So that's my bad.
I'm just gonna include that now.
Oh yeah, it's fine. That's the ketchup. So, anyways, speaking of
you should
ketchup,
sorry, you should have
Yeah.
seen. You should have seen Bill doing how he did the noise. It was so hilarious.
just patting two palms of hands together. One was the ketchup, one was my actual palm.
Yeah, okay,
Anyway,
sorry. Ketchup.
so Seamus in this chapter that we're gonna get into. I don't know if you caught this. Do you know what ketchup is actually mentioned?
Oh yeah,
in
on
this
his
chapter.
and the sausages.
And that is just not how I eat my sausages. I eat them plain. You
Yeah.
know, like I just like a good
for
sausage,
you.
like mixed in with maybe some eggs, sometimes some syrup on there. I guess I could put syrup. I do put syrup on
Okay,
there,
yeah,
don't
that's
I?
sweet,
And I do
yeah.
put peanut butter on sometimes, so maybe that's also kind of
That is so weird to me.
yeah, isn't that weird? So yeah, I guess ketchup. I gotta let Seamus go on that one because ketchup seems more normal than
It does.
than what I just said. So sorry, Seamus. You're normal, bro. Anyway, but yeah, I just thought it was kind of funny that he put ketchup on his sausages and whatnot. In this very chapter, it's really I think it's cool to kind of pay attention to the foods, the things that they're eating in the chapter and figure out.
Yeah,
you
me
know,
too.
Yeah, just makes me hungry.
Oh, I know, when they have their Halloween and Christmas feast and all that stuff. But
Right. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway. Are you ready for some trivia training?
Yes, I'm ready for some trivia training. Yes.
Okay. Love being the quiz master. One day we're gonna switch it up.
Yeah. Well, just so we switched up the audio recording situation here, you better be able to read that trivia question and monitor the audio. Because what if all of a sudden I get up in here like this and I'm all like really close and stuff like that? What would you do?
I would just
Leave it.
post, edit. Everything.
No, it's on me. I'm just kidding.
I probably do that all the time where I'm like, hello.
You know the reason what? By the way, we are on micro. We will be returning to our normal setup after today,
Right.
Because I'm not tolerating this anymore.
Okay.
Seriously, I'm not. We've got like microphone stands for a reason, so we can multitask. Makes the
True.
show better. The microphone
That's true.
stays in your mouth. I mean, in front of your mouth, on your mouth. Better. It just does.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I appreciate, all your
High quality.
high quality setups and yeah.
Best we.
I
we
didn't
can.
say by the
Because
way,
because
I think
sorry. By the way, all right. Sorry. If you sacrifice the quality, then it's like the conversation had better be really good. All right. So I like to go high quality and like, you know what? That conversation from Bill today was a little subpar. But the quality
was so good.
was
I
in
couldn't
terms of
stop
like
listening.
the audio quality. And actually, it's not the best. It could be a lot better. And in the future, I will be soundproofing this room.
Okay.
Maybe not this room. Maybe our room in the future, in our future cottage or whatever. But still, I would love to have like some like, you know what I mean? Some
Yes.
foam and some stuff or whatever. We could get real like wizard like with it and have like quilts and sheets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sort of like make it look really burrow like, you know what I mean? With a bunch
Yes.
of knicknacks around because those things eat up sound and it helps the audio quality.
Sounds
Sorry guys,
good.
just
And
a quick little-
Bro will be happier.
Yeah, bro, I'll be like, can't even tell from guys are recording. Okay.
Okay. Today's trivia questions. 2 questions as always for you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. They are more probably
They're
on the
hard.
harder side and I couldn't even answer them.
I can tell.
But
Go ahead.
give me a good guess. Okay. How big is the modern Quidditch pitch?
The
And
modern
I have
one?
I have the answer in
Wait, you mean not the one in the books, but
No,
like
the one in the books. Sorry, yeah.
Okay.
It's I think in Quidditch Through the Ages, it's modern, and then there was one like,
yeah.
hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
So it's not measured in feet.
Yeah, it is. So I have the answer
What?
in feet, and then I also googled the meters for.
Wait, the book lists it in feet? I didn't know that was the thing that they did. That's cool.
In feet, in yard, and in meters, but I also only put it
Well,
down in
it's
feet.
It's 300 feet. Okay. I'm not sure what that is over in yards, but in feet it's 300.
Okay, we have a width, like length and width. I know it's more like it's an oval,
Uh-huh.
but what you call it?
Which one are you asking for? The length or
Both.
the width?
Both.
So the length is 300 and the width is about 200.
Okay, not bad, not too bad.
What is it?
The answer is 500 feet long and 180 feet wide.
That's
Not bad, though.
I think ratio-wise, I was pretty close in terms of the, yeah.
Yeah, that would be, so for everyone who does the metric system, that would be around 152 meters long and 55 meters wide. Comparison to that, a soccer field is around 360 feet by 225 feet, or 110 meters by 69 meters. So it's, I mean, if you have a soccer field on it, I know it's a square, but it is pretty big if you think about how big a soccer field is.
Yeah, it's slightly bigger than a football field, which is
Okay.
so because a lot of our soccer fields are on our football fields, and so that's why I was thinking, closer
Yeah,
to
okay,
those
for you,
dimensions.
yeah, it's probably a better comparison for with football. Yeah,
So what is it again exactly? So 500 feet long and
180 feet wide.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. You need it to be a little bit longer. They got brooms. They're flying around on brooms.
Yeah.
So
I feel like, yeah, makes
you
sense.
need a bigger space. So
Right.
was there a second question?
Second question, what are the two teams and the names of their seekers that play the Quidditch World Cup final in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire?
Oh gosh, I just know it's Ireland, right? The Irish.
Yes,
Versus Crumb. Crumb's a seeker.
Yes.
And what is that? Bulgaria.
Vicky Crumb.
Are
Yep,
they
Bulgaria.
Bulgarians?
So we have Bulgaria versus Ireland, and
Crumb's
then
the seeker, and then the other seeker is McSomething. No.
you would think, right? Because
I
he's
was-
Irish. No.
Could guess as not McDonald. All right, who is
And
it?
Aidan Lynch.
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 Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Aidan Lynch.
Nice.
So I think some of the Irish players were part of a trivia question. I feel like I've heard this
Well, and
one.
also there's oftentimes a lot of the question is like the score to that game and how it all worked out because the Weasleys sort of guessed it and they
Yeah.
won their bit of money, right? Because
Ooh, I don't know
Crumb,
the exact.
Crumb catches
Yeah,
the snitch, which is what
yes.
they said, but Ireland wins,
Right.
which doesn't happen very often. It's hard.
Right.
That's hard to call. Normally, the
Yeah.
person who
How
catches
did the
it.
Weasley twins know that? Honestly.
Yeah, well, again, you look at that's just the one thing. It's the one situation that the reason she wrote that is because normally you try to think of a situation where in which every game is won by the seeker. You would
Right.
think. Well, this is the one situation where a seeker does not win the game.
Right.
They just end the game because it's what we would call a bloodbath.
Bloodbath?
Bloodbath, meaning they were just scoring all just left and right. They
Yeah.
had such good sort of players on the Irish did that they were just putting up tons of points.
Yeah.
And they continued to sort of do that, and really it was sort of I think their seeker was probably more so just keeping Crumb off of it as long as they could,
Yeah.
so they could just rack up points, and then
Right.
Crumb catches it and ends it. So
Yeah, which is interesting. But I think that his the other team players were really mad at him for that. But do you want to know more about the Golden Snitch?
whoa, yes I do.
Okay, then let's dive into a Magi zoology lesson.
What, you rescue these creatures?
Yes, that's right. Rescue, nurture, and protect them. I'm gently trying to educate my fellow wizards about them. Come on.
Welcome to a weekly Magi zoology lesson. Why am I doing this?
I don't know.
Voice.
Why
I
are
don't
you
know.
being
Okay. Bill and Fleur want to learn even more about magical creatures and fantastic beasts and share this knowledge with you guys so we can all appreciate them more. Newt would be super proud of us. This week's beast is the Golden Snitch. If you're also thinking, wow, I am a big Harry Potter fan, but I've never heard of the Golden Snitch.
Snidget.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you think about when you hear Golden Snitch? It is obviously the
Snitch.
Golden Snitch, and
Yeah.
it definitely has a connection here.
Okay.
So the Golden Snitch, this classification is 4 X's, but there's a little footnote in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. It says the Golden Snitch gains a 4X rating not because it is dangerous, but because severe penalties are attached to its capture or injury. So that's why you probably can't even have one as a bird. And
Wait, say it again. It's a bird?
it's a bird, yes.
Okay.
So the golden snidget is an extremely rare, protected species of bird. Completely round with a very long, thin beak and glistening, jewel-like red eyes, the golden snidget is an extremely fast flyer that can change directions with uncanny speed and skill, owing to the rotational joints of its wings. The golden snidget's feathers and eyes are so highly prized that it was at one time in danger of being hunted to extinction by wizards. The danger was recognized in time and the species protected, the most notable factor being the substitution of the golden snitch for the snidget in the game of Quidditch. Snidget sanctuaries exist worldwide, by the way, which is pretty cool. I think that's a good choice the wizarding world made, because they used the golden snidget first before they used the golden snitch in the game of Quidditch, which is crazy. Because as you can imagine, high speed, you're trying to catch that bird. I don't think they survived very often or had really dramatic injuries. And I think you can kind of imagine a snidget being like a mix of the kiwi bird and a hummingbird, I feel like, because it's round and it has these really distinctive wings, which are like the golden snitch has like those little wings that rotate. That way that's why it can move so quickly in all directions. That's what the bird does too. But it's it's round, and that beak reminds me just of a kiwi mixed in with a hummingbird.
This really feels like it should be one of our Harry Potter hangout. Did you know?
I know, right?
Like, did you know that the snitch, the golden snitch, is based on? I'm loving this, by the way. I wish you guys could see this right now, because Lottie just confirmed everything I've been thinking, which is, oh, you've got this recording device here. She can't put her, she's got her book out, she's holding her microphone, and she's trying to put her iPad down. So, I don't know. Maybe I was right, and we need a more permanent situation for recording.
I didn't say we shouldn't. I just said not today.
Okay. Anyway, but no, I think that would be kind of a cool one. Can I, real quick?
Yes, please.
Just since we went right from the Quidditch questions, we're talking about the World Cup, and we're talking about the Golden Snidget. Did you know that there are 4-hour caps on certain Quidditch matches? Qualifying matches for the World Cup specifically have a 4-hour
I like that.
Because otherwise, how you couldn't, if one team was trying to qualify and they took a month,
days,
right? Because they say it could be months or whatever,
right.
blah blah blah. So that was wild. Yeah, you had to score certain.
Yeah, because you got to plan out the final if they can't make it until the final. It totally makes sense.
Right.
I like that.
Cool. Anyway.
Okay.
What else you got?
Yeah, they were pretty difficult for muggles to detect, which made it easier for, protecting or hiding them from muggles. But from the early 1100s, Snidget hunting was a popular sporting pastime of many wizard kind, and as hinted at in modern Quidditch, was done on broomsticks. A tapestry preserved in the Museum of Quidditch from the 12th century revealed that Snidget hunting was done in groups, with participants free to use nets, wands, or even just opting to use their bare hands. The fragile birds were oftentimes crushed to death by their captor in the process. In the case of the tapestry, the winner was shown receiving a bag of gold. Snidget hunting, usually done in broad daylight, also had the side effect of causing more muggle broomstick sightings than any other activity. Despite this, the Wizards' Council was unable to curb the popularity of the sport, although they had very little motivation to do so, as historical records showed that their attitude was that they didn't see anything wrong with Snidget hunting, which is sad. As time went on, and it would emerge that not all wizard kind felt the same way. The Snidget was first introduced into Quidditch in 1269, when the newly appointed chief of the Wizards' Council released the Snidget during a Quidditch match and offered 150 galleons to the player who could catch it. In protest of the barbaric treatment of the fragile bird, Madame Modesty Brapnot of Kent An opponent of Snidget Hunting summoned the Snidget to her, fled the pitch, and released the bird into the wild. Nevertheless, the practice of releasing a Snidget during Quidditch matches continued, with the stakes changed to 150 points, rather than galleons. Ultimately, use of Snidgets in Quidditch and the popularity of Snidget hunting depleted the species considerably. And then, about a century after the first introduction of Snidgets to Quidditch, when it became apparent that the Snidget was close to extinction, Elfrida Clegg, then chief of the Wizards' Council, declared it a protected species. And that's why it gained 4 X's, because there's severe penalties. They don't go in detail what kind of penalties, but the most notable factor in the protection of the Snidgets was the introduction of the Golden Snitch, invented by metal charmer Bowman right to the game of Quidditch.
Okay. That's pretty cool. So you have somebody who does like a little bit of, who specializes in charming metal objects or whatever. Yeah, to do certain things. So made it to move in a way that was similar to the Snidget.
I do get why people sometimes think, oh, have you ever thought of what if, everything is real and J.K. Rowling is just writing everything down as it was for us and we just think it's a story? Because sometimes you're like, this could totally be true. This is how we, like how gladiators fought in a battle once. And then people are like, this is pretty barbaric. Let's just do
let's switch it to football. Yeah.
Football or fencing or, like something that's a sport, but they don't kill each other.
Right.
Yeah. So the question I always ask, would you want to have or befriend? I guess in this case, more like have.
I would say even just so we have a lot of hummingbirds out back, and I love when hummingbirds are around, and even our kitty. I know it's just it's the nature of these.
It's the circle of life.
Circle of life, because Sophie, our cat, loves watching them, and starts licking her chops a little bit when those hummingbirds come around. But it's just kind of funny to see them out there and to see her looking at them just like we are. We're like, oh, they're so pretty, and she's like, I want to catch one. I can catch one, and she's jumping trying to get them, and they're so fast she can't, catch them or whatever. But it's just funny. I think it'd be cool to have them around in the backyard. They'd probably beautiful to see flying around, and if I could figure out how to feed them and take care of them, I would. Yeah, I really would.
100%. I think they sound really, really cool and cute and smart and fast. And I love cats, but I used to have a little pet bird. And he would sit on my shoulder all day long. We would watch TV together. I would, go in the bathroom, take a shower, and he would be in front of the mirror and just, loving up on himself in the mirror.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And he was so cute, and I loved him so much. And then he got a little sick.
Oh. Yeah. Maybe we'll get birds one day. I had an aunt. And by the way, I'm going to tell you guys my aunt's name because it's awesome. Her Aunt Mabel. I love old names where people don't have. I don't know. You don't hear Mabel. Like a lot of students' names go through these phases where they're super popular and then they come back old fashioned or whatever. Yeah, like Myrtle, Ethel, Mabel. You know what I mean? So my mom's name was Martha. So it was just sort of but Aunt Mabel had these. I think it was a parrot, different types of parrots or whatever, and they would talk to you and stuff, and
that's cool.
they were really cool, and they would repeat stuff, and
that's funny.
I remember my cousins were watching sports games downstairs, and they'd be yelling at the screen like, "Oh, come on!" And then so sometimes you'd be walking out, we'd do something downstairs playing pool, and we'd hear the parrot, "Oh, come on, what are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, hey."
That is hilarious.
It is so funny because they're just trying to interact, and they're cocking their head, looking at you and stuff. And you're like, "What are you looking at?" And what are you looking at?
They were so funny.
And I was like, "Wait, are you mocking me?" And they would just it was so cool because they had taught them certain phrases.
What are you looking at? What are you looking at?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, so I think it's cool. It'd be fun. But the nice thing about having the bird feeder and stuff like that is that they're free to go do their thing, and they're just outside, and you get to, because I had aunts and my grandma, my mom. Feeders. I don't know how people feel about feeders or not, but we would feed the squirrels. We had tons of squirrels in the backyard. We had tons of birds showing up to the hummingbird feeder, and that was cool because you got all sorts of birds in your backyard, and you could hear tons of them. Right, cardinals are big around here, and while we're telling bird stories, real quick, my grandma. We used to shoot who like babysat us while my mom was going to nursing school.
Yeah.
We would sit there and she would look out the window and say, there's Mr. Cardinal again. Oh, Mr. Cardinal. And I would be like, we're little, can't look out the window. Like, what? Who's here, Grandma? We had no idea that was, she was talking to Mr. Cardinal.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, I imagined as a kid, I remember vividly imagining, and I remember telling my mom, Mr. Cardinal came by today to talk to Grandma. Like we were just so little and we just would, I remember like there's a recording somewhere on a cassette tape of us talking about Grandma meeting up with Mr. Cardinal because we didn't know. And we imagined him as this long, tall, like leaning up against the window, leaning in, talking to Grandma. And I'm like, who is he? Where'd he go? I don't see him. We couldn't see him, but she's like, oh, he's out there. He's right here at the window. And I'm like, anyway, just kind of funny just to have birds around in the backyard and have them, talking.
I know a lot of people know a lot about birds and they recognize their, their singing, their voices, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, they can tell what type of bird it is. Yeah, there's actually an app. So one of my colleagues at work, she showed me, and I'll have to figure it out. There's an app, right, that you can distinguish between the various birds that you hear in your backyard. It will like tell you what type of birds. You just press record. You record the sounds of birds outside, and you can go through. It's very neat, and you can see. Oh, was that a robin, a blue jay, a cardinal? What type of birds are in your backyard? Pretty neat.
Super cool.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Good bird discussion.
Yeah. Golden Snitch.
Golden Snidget. Didn't know it. Didn't know about it.
So next time you see a little golden something flying around from your window, you know what it is.
Yeah, it's a golden Snidget.
I wonder what they sound like. What do you think they sound like?
I don't know. What a hummingbird sound like? Probably.
Oh,
I would imagine they don't really.
They don't really sing.
I don't know if they do. I think they're so busy flapping those little wings that they don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right.
So they definitely have a little buzzing sound. It sounds like a big old bee, like coming by. You're like soft and quiet, but yeah. Anyway,
let's go from bird watching to Potter watching.
Potter watch. So speaking of watches, we just last week, you and I watched House of the Dragon.
Yeah,
which was out.
That was amazing.
Obviously not kid friendly, but it's a good show, and it was wild, very entertaining. Tons of emotion. In that, and so that is back in full swing. So I'm covering that with my good friend Matt over on our Bend the Knee podcast. You guys can check that out. We have our buddy Jimmy from the Fantasy Network over there. And we're having a lot of fun with that show.
Really cool.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I think we're recording later tonight for that as well. Episode 2 will be coming out. So
I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah.
So just to be clear on that, I think it's a little brutal for me. I just don't like watching that kind of stuff. And I think it does, to me, it just doesn't add anything. But it's like sometimes I'm like, every time something like that, they're getting really, really violent, I just have to look away and stuff, and I'm always like, oh, do I miss something?
No, and you don't.
And often you don't.
You often don't miss.
But then,
anything.
So. But otherwise, I think it's very, very well made. From episode 1, you were like, the introductions are very, very well done, and you want to know more about it, and it ties into the actual Game of Thrones series
show.
later. Cool.
Yeah,
they
which
did
is
a really
cool.
good job on that.
So we really like that. Also, in other news as well, again, because the Potter news is pretty dry in terms of what's out there. It's really more this, delay for Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah, but you can pre-order it right now.
You can pre-order it right now, absolutely. So we're
news,
debating, whether we're gonna. So that'll be February, but we're gonna pre-order. Soon. There were some new trailers as well, too. There were actually some new little promotional releases. If you guys want to check that out, there's a bit more footage.
Trailer. And I think the Dark Arts is, so they released 2 different versions, just the regular and then the deluxe version. And with the deluxe version comes also access to the Dark Arts part of the game, which is cool. So we're definitely getting the deluxe version because we're so hyped about this game. We want to cover it on our podcast. We want to cover it on YouTube and just play it all day long. We are still deciding whether, I've never seen anything like it where they release a game for every single handheld, what do you call them?
Device or console and
console,
stuff.
yeah. Because it will be released for PlayStation, for Nintendo handheld, Switch, for computer, for Xbox. Like,
It's not like exclusive to one.
no, and we're
thing,
debating whether it's more convenient to have it on the computer or on the PS4 or 5.
Console.
Yeah, so we're still thinking about what's the best option. And also, I was wondering, I tried to figure out if there's any differences because you can imagine that a Switch game looks so different from a really high quality PS5 or PC game. Is there any differences in the story and what you can do? Because you also have different buttons and dynamics.
Yeah,
so
you kinda have
I
to
was
set it.
wondering.
There might be because that you noticed that, when you went from you played it on the PC, when you played the Chamber of Secrets, or when you played Philosopher's Stone, you played those on PC, right? When you were growing up, and there were differences when they were on console.
They were.
So
there were major differences.
Major differences. Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that's the case too. That would be sad for me because I would feel like I would miss out on the other console.
Right. Yeah. I'm more used to using a PlayStation controller, so I thought about doing that. I would probably play it more if it were on PlayStation, I think.
Yeah.
Not so
Maybe we
sure.
just get both. Who knows?
Maybe we get both. Maybe we just splurge a little bit. We get both. So that's sort of the big Harry Potter news that's out there, and there'll be more. I think with this merger between like Warner Brothers and Discovery or whatever, there's a lot of talks with J.K. Rowling about whether they're going to do more series or movies or whatever, or what's the big thing. And they listed Harry Potter or the Wizarding World as one of their big pillars. So a lot like Game of Thrones or your House of the Dragon and DC, like the DC superheroes, Superman, Batman. Like you need what brings people to that platform. So for Disney, right? It's Marvel and Star Wars.
Yeah.
And a wide variety of other things too. So they definitely are going to do something with Harry Potter. They've been doing the Fantastic Beasts series. That seems to have been bombing a little bit, although we liked it. I really enjoy it and think it's awesome.
Me too.
I don't get people's. I don't get it. I don't know why people don't like it. The second one, I guess I kind of understand because it's a little bit whatever. But in general, sorry, not to ramble on that. I do like it, and I think it's cool. I'm looking forward to more news there. But another thing I want to mention too, just as we're getting ready for this week. So when you guys hear this episode, it'll drop on Wednesday. You and I will be at the premiere of Rings of Power. So we're going to go to the movie theater premiere. We got tickets for that, which is a lot of fun. Yeah. And then we'll be covering that on...
I'm so excited.
on Rings of Power. So we'll be covering Rings of Power on an Unexpected podcast. My buddy Lane. Lottie will also be on a newbie panel for the watch party. Yeah, it's called the newbie panel.
I can't believe it. I'm going to be a guest host on...
Watch Party, Lord of the Rings, or Lord of the Rings Watch Party, I think. I'm going to put a link to all of their socials. They do... It's pretty cool stuff. They have watch parties for Wheel of Time, for House of the Dragon / Game of Thrones, and then Lord of the Rings. Yeah. So they wanted a panel, and they reached out to me and asked whether or not Lottie would be interested. Shout out to our buddy Jordan from the podcast Music of Middle-earth. He's also I think he's the editor for Prancing Pony, and he recommended us, and to those guys. And I thought, well, this is really cool. It'd be fun to reach out there, make some new friends, and just sort of chat about, I'll just get to watch you sort of chat and give your thoughts on the series, which is going to be cool. And then you and Sarah will be on the last episode of our Up Talking Tolkien review. Yeah. Okay. News to Lottie.
Good to know that.
So there we go, friends. All right, it's just a lot to look forward to. Cool stuff as we, dig our way through the fall here. Fall is going to be coming up here in just a few weeks. We're super excited for football games and for, the pumpkin spice to continue. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be doing lots of reading with pumpkin spice and pumpkin. We're going to have to carve some pumpkins, by the way, too. It's going to be like October. We'll be here before you know it, We're
going to post a picture on Instagram at fleurandbill.
Oh my goodness, I just thought of something, and people would be so upset if we didn't mention this.
Okay.
The episode for us here is releasing on the 31st of August. So, friends, happy return to Hogwarts Day. I mean,
Yes!
right? This
Tomorrow,
gotta
1st of
tomorrow.
September.
For you. Yeah, wow.
The
It's-
Hogwarts Express leaves at what time?
Yeah,
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock. Just so
on
you
the
guys
dot.
know. But
Yes,
it's
thank
cool.
you.
I thought of that because I just was looking at my phone notifications. I got a letter that says sort of like again. Well, I keep saying Pottermore, but it's Wizarding World. Sends out these sort of get ready. Like if you're on their email list, like they're prepping for a big celebratory day. And so make sure you're on that. It's just kind of neat that they'll welcome you back to Hogwarts and everything and all that good stuff. So
No, I'm not on their email list.
Oh, I'm
How
sorry.
do I get on there?
yeah, we'll figure it out. But
Okay.
it's really neat. So I wanted to kind of say that it's just a fun time to be I don't know to be going back to school and to be getting ready for Hogwarts in real life sort of. And we're also podcasting about
Yeah.
it. So I don't know if you guys. By the way, tag us in anything you want. If you're out there and you're doing a special drink or you're watching Potter that night, like tag us.
Yeah.
I think we probably will. You know what I mean? So we're gonna have a lot going on, but we'll see if we can sneak in something Potter related on social media because it's gonna be such a cool day, wild day.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, friends, I think that's all for the news. What are we ready to jump into the? We ready to jump into the reread or what?
The summary.
The summary. You ready for this?
Yeah, I can read it if you want. Did you read it last time?
I did, but we're gonna do rock
Okay.
paper scissors,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I don't think you've won yet.
No. So what
So-
happens if I win? Because you always make the decision and you always decide.
To read it.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
No, sometimes you said I have to read it.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes I decide I want to read it.
Okay,
It
let's
just sort
go.
of depends. You ready? Okay, ready? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, that's the first time she's done rock. I have done rock probably 4 or 5 times in
I
a row,
know.
and she has done scissors, and I have beaten her 4 times in a row. There we go. Okay,
Okay.
cool. Ready? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Yeah.
Okay, good job. So, okay.
Wait, that means I gotta read it?
You get to pick. Do you want me to
Okay.
read it, or do you want...
I actually feel like I'm gonna read it.
Okay, cool.
Are you mad
It's
at
your
me?
decision. No, not at all.
Okay. It was just fun to
It's
win.
just fun to... Yeah, it's just fun to do it.
Okay, summary of chapter 11, Quidditch. This school is buzzing with excitement for the upcoming Quidditch match, Gryffindor versus Slytherin. It will be Harry's first Quidditch game, and he can finally put all the hard work and hours of practice to the test. Hermione, now his friend, lends Harry the library book, Quidditch Through the Ages. Harry loves it and carries it with him wherever he goes. Then, during one break, Snape, who is looking for a reason to take points from Harry and his friends, catches them with the library book outside in the courtyard. He takes Quidditch Through the Ages away from Harry, as well as 5 points from Gryffindor, and limps away. Later, back in the common room, Harry really wants his book back. He thinks it is totally unfair that Snape took it in the first place. He wouldn't say no in front of other teachers, would he? Harry just barely peeks into the staff room when he is shocked to see Snape showing his wounded and bloody leg to Filch. Harry still has the audacity to ask for his book back, but Snape is fuming with anger and sends him away. He knows that Harry knows. Snape has been trying to get past the 3-headed dog. Harry doesn't have much time to think about it, though. When he wakes up the next morning, his first Quidditch match is about to start. With shaky knees, Harry stumbles onto the pitch. A feisty match with the Slytherins begins. Gryffindor quickly takes the lead, but the Slytherins are fighting back. All of a sudden, Harry's Nimbus 2000 starts to jerk left and right, up and down, trying to shake his rider off. Up in the stands, Hermione seems to have spotted the culprit. She sees Snape on the other side, fully concentrated on Harry and muttering non-stop. The brightest witch of her year doesn't hesitate and rushes over to silently set Snape's robes on fire. She's in such a hurry that she even knocks over Professor Quirrell, who must have been focused on something else too. Hermione's plan, however, works. Harry is back in control of his broom and even manages to catch the snitch. Gryffindor wins. But there's little time to celebrate. Right after the match, Harry, Hermione, and Ron visit Hagrid in his hut to tell him all about the 2 recent incidents with Snape. Hagrid refuses to believe that a Hogwarts teacher would try to get past his cute little Fluffy, let alone try and kill a student. Explaining how it is none of the trio's business, he accidentally drops the name Nicholas Flamel. Harry picks up on it right away and knows that this guy's name provides an important piece to the puzzle. Hagrid immediately regrets his mistake, but it's too late. The 3 are getting closer and closer to finding out what Fluffy is guarding.
Mm-hmm. Let's go. Well read.
Thank you.
You're welcome. One time we should do. I think Brule should read it, and that way it's sort of.
You do that.
You wouldn't have to do any editing because Brule's just full of mistakes.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, this is Quidditch and the House Championship. Now here's something interesting. So you have the House Cup, and then you have Are they separate? I don't actually know because they said they're going to move into second place.
Quidditch, yes. Quidditch Cup and House Cup are separate from each other. Yeah.
Right, but they say if they move into second place, I think what you just read too was like they'll move into second place for the House Championship. So I've like the way this was, and we can look in the book real quick.
I feel like though that means the Quidditch House Championship. I think. Yeah, I just wanted to talking about Quidditch.
Point out that they're different, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. Good point, though. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or are they? Does one affect the other? Like, do you?
I wonder if Gryffindor gets points for winning.
Yeah, I don't know. If you look in the very beginning somewhere, you'll find sort of a quote about the idea that this is the house. I think it's called the House Championship, and then you've got like the, House Cup too, which is all you can earn points in class.
Yeah.
So are they separate?
Here it is. If Gryffindor won, they would move up into the second place in the House Championship.
So the House Championship is separate than the House Cup? I guess that's where I'm
I feel like
confused.
it's the Quidditch House Championship, and I think he's just,
Well,
even though it's confusing.
Yeah, while I drive on, can you look it up? Because I think there's, I just want to kind of see what the difference is between the two.
Yeah,
because
but I was wondering too, like, the Quidditch season just started, and it sounds like they already, maybe Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw have already played each other or something, and that's why they move into second place.
Yeah, so I guess it would, but why not first place if there's only been one match so far?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, difference between.
That's why I was confused, because they said second place, so and this is his first match, right? This is their first match, so the winners of school Quidditch games also receive points. Points can be taken away for things.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, you're right. The House Cup was Trophy House Championship. You win the House Cup, but it's the House Championship. And you might be right that this would mean they would get points even for the House Cup, for the end of the year cup. There's also, like how the Quidditch.
So there's the House Cup, and is there a separate thing called the House Championship?
No, I think they're the same.
Okay.
House Championship. The House Championship, or the House Cup, was an event in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone to Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. It was held by Hogwarts School of Witchcraft every year. Students gain or lose house points throughout the school year and determine which of the 4 houses will be the winner of the House Cup. It was held from September until June. Yes. What? There are arguments for both saying yes and no to this question. Yes, it is the same. In Philosopher's Stone, Harry grieves about losing 50 points when McGonagall finds him and says he lost the points he earned by winning Quidditch. No, there are 2 different cups. Oliver Wood states in Prisoner of Azkaban that this was his last chance of winning the cup due to him doing his last school year. Gryffindor, however, won the House Cup in the books before. I think there is. So what I'm imagining is you have the House Championship, which at the end of that championship, you get the winner gets awarded the House Cup. And Quidditch points, if you win, you also get some points towards the House Cup because the house has done something good, right? Mm-hmm. But you also are in that Quidditch league, like where you go up a certain, if you win all the matches, you should be in first place for the Quidditch Cup.
Okay.
But you should also be very good within the House Cup, because if you're keep winning the games, you keep gaining points towards the general House Cup.
But clearly, so you could win the House Cup or the House Championship or whatever.
Yeah.
The House Cup is what they call it. You could win that, and then you could lose the Quidditch Cup of some kind or whatever.
Yes.
I don't know. I just never heard it actually really defined.
point, though.
And
I
they're,
didn't
they're
even-
sort of
yeah.
intermixed or whatever. So
Because I thought he was talking about the Quidditch Cup, but no, you're right. It's the house championship.
So it's just kind of a cool thing. Interesting to note that they're going to be moving into second place.
Mm-hmm.
Now the big thing is Harry is he's new. He's kind of a wild card.
Yeah.
He's a rookie. So I play fantasy football, and we did our fantasy football draft. I drafted 3 rookies. They could be great. They could not be great.
Yeah.
Not really
You never
sure.
know
That
what
you
you're gonna do.
never know. So the Weasleys are known for betting
Mm-hmm.
on different things. I wonder if they set up a secret bet
Oh,
and were
probably.
they betting on Potter.
Yes.
Now, you're not supposed to be betting on the sport that you play in, etc. You
Right.
know, people, there have been professional athletes who've gotten in big trouble for that, etc., or thrown
Yeah.
games potentially. You know, I guess it's more acceptable when you're betting on yourself to say, I'm betting on me, and so I'm going to go out there and play my hardest. But when you're like,
Yeah.
when you bet against yourself and then you throw
Yeah.
the game, really bad,
True.
right? So not good. But I just thought it was interesting. I bet there were people out there who were maybe, Lee Jordan
maybe
or
outside
others
of
were
Gryffindor, yeah.
placing some bets on whether Harry would, how well he would do.
Probably.
Numbers are interesting. So I think, off the top of my head, I think it was the year 1473
Okay.
is when they said the first Quidditch sort of World Cup was or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was interesting. So the numbers. So we know that J.K. Rowling is super big into sacred kind of magical numbers. The number 7 comes up all the time, right? So 700 fouls for that were known in Quidditch. So you have 7 there. And then if you think about doubling 7, you get 14. So you have 1473 in the power of 3. A lot of people talk about 3 being a magical number as well. So I just thought it was kind of a cool date that she picked. You think about her mind, when is she, if you want to make a date where in which something happens, she's going to use magical numbers to do that. So she uses 1473 to come up with her first Quidditch match. That's listed in this chapter. So that was something in this chapter that they mentioned. I thought was cool.
Nice.
To bring attention to it. So yeah, all those different vows. I think it's a lot to kind of keep track of. Madam Hooch obviously has to keep track of all those vows, and a lot of them happen to the Seeker. So as we've been sort of talking about Quidditch in this episode, Harry is nervous. Right? He's nervous in terms of like he's the one who's going to be targeted quite a bit.
I know.
He's young,
And everyone tells him.
yeah, he's new. Well, either we're going to carry a mattress underneath you, or you're going to be fine. You're going to do awesome. You're going to be a natural. So I
Right.
think that's kind of interesting. They also mentioned that the referees vanish from time to time, and I was like, I think this is one of those things you get.
That's crazy.
Early development. She wants to add something sort of mysterious or odd or weird or like a wizard magic element to this. And it's like, well, how did the referee vanish? Did someone?
Yeah, I think she's someone of the team when they were not happy or satisfied with the decision, they would vanish.
Like they would fight. I mean, I feel like that should be immediately if you do something to attack the referee. I feel like that's an immediate loss. There should be a rule in there somewhere where like if you know what I mean. And we don't get the outcomes on that, but if you did something to Madam Hooch, immediately your team's gone.
Yeah.
Done. They should lose that match and be disqualified.
Oh yeah.
So, but several of them it did happen to them. So maybe it was just sort of like, I guess if you wanted to cloud or muddy the water on whether your team truly lost and you were down by a lot of points and you didn't want to kind of have that stain on your reputation, you might secretly somebody's charmed or portkeyed away the referee.
You know what some soccer fans in Germany sing? They would sing like to the referee, "We know where your car is at."
Oh gosh.
So, if they were
Threats.
not happy with the decision, they would set it on fire or
my goodness.
demolish it.
That's crazy. They should have extra security for the referees.
I know.
It's nuts. Yeah.
I mean, in
anyways.
soccer and first league, they probably have because
I'm sure they do.
They have so much money. So
I've actually seen. So I have students who go out and they do like the Saturday morning games for kids and stuff, and they're like, it's really interesting. I had a girl who went out and was a soccer player, went out and refereed, and she was like, I have a new appreciation for you dealing with parents. And I was like, really? What do you mean?
That's nice.
And she
You
was
should
just
say
like,
that.
they're the most unreasonable. It's their kid on the field, and they are losing their mind. They're blind to the fact that their kid totally just fouled the other kid.
Yeah.
And like, if I don't do something for this kid who fouled, and if I'm as blind as they are, right, then the other parents are enraged because their kid was fouled. So it was kind of interesting to hear that from some of my teenagers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, shout out to the referees. There we go.
Yes, you're awesome. I wouldn't want to do your job.
No, and we appreciate you, and we need you for our sports to go
Yes.
forward. So,
Thanks.
yeah. Actually, my buddy Lane used to do rugby, and
Whoa.
he talked about some of the referees that they dealt with, and if there were, like, remarks that were super inappropriate or things that were done and disrespectful,
Oh, yeah, I think he said
just
that.
walked
They
off the field.
Yeah,
See ya. Have fun.
yeah,
Referee your own game.
yeah.
And also, I'm getting paid for this. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not getting treated this way. And off they would go. They would get paid prior to the game. That way, they could ensure sort of
Yeah.
like they could walk off it. Because again, this was amateur league,
Yeah.
stuff or whatever. But crazy, absolutely crazy. Gotta have some respect there.
Right.
Okay. Hermione in this chapter is making those cool little fires. Did you notice that?
I know, and
So-
I think this is pretty advanced magic.
It is cool. I think it's really cool. It comes up again later. It's neat when things happen later in the series and they remember Hermione for these things early on.
Yeah.
Like these are things that are heartwarming to us as readers, and then to our trio. They remember her for those comfortable little fires that they got to be next to, that they were
Right.
also breaking the rules. They said that she became more kind of like, I guess
A
for
little
this,
more relaxed.
I can
yeah.
make you guys a quick little fire.
Which raises the question: why do they not have fires like Hermione conjured up for everyone anyway? If it's so cold outside, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just unsupervised. Maybe I bet you there are more rules at Hogwarts than we realize. Like
yeah.
first years can't be doing that versus maybe a fifth year could, or who knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it sounds like in this chapter and the next, it sounds like it's really, really getting cold inside the castle, even
yeah.
if you're not around a fire, especially in the corridors, right?
I felt like this was outside too, wasn't it?
They were, yeah, they were
okay,
outside.
yeah.
I'm sorry, but in general,
A little drafty in
they
Hogwarts.
could probably conjure up a little bit more heat. But
Yeah.
I listened to, by the way, sorry, I got to mention this real quick. I listened to Alohomora, their podcast,
yeah.
and they were discussing super interesting. You know, the things you can't really conjure up by magic is like food, obviously, and
Yeah.
like there's certain laws and energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, but Hermione's making a fire, which is heat, which is energy.
Yeah.
Does she draw that from, like how waterbenders in Avatar, they can't conjure up water. They have to have the source somewhere. And they just,
Sure.
if you're very good, you can that kind of take it out from grasp, because every
Even the
living
atmosphere,
thing has,
even
even the
humidity.
atmosphere
Yeah.
has water.
Yeah.
Sorry, real quick, are we expecting someone?
No,
There's
are
a
they
red-
turning around?
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I was just making sure that.
It's okay.
not
We
getting
had,
robbed
we
here.
had a scary red van pull into the driveway there.
And they have they have like a ladder and stuff on the roof, so I wasn't sure.
They're coming up here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No, but they were discussing like what can you conjure up and what you can't, and fire is obviously one of the things you can. But do you think they have to like kind of take the energy from somewhere, or does it make them like out of themselves, because we produce heat as well?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
feel like you can't conjure
Yeah,
up
that's
it
interesting.
out of thin air.
The study of it, yeah. How do you
Mm-hmm.
conjure that fire? Or what do you pull from, or whatever? Because you think about wand movements, right? And
Yeah.
and just kind of pulling stuff, the swish and flick movement, or
Right.
I even think of like a conductor, sort of conducting, conducting an orchestra, and the different strokes that you would use to kind of swish and move through the air.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's pulling in some sort of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's cool. But I love these fires, and I think they're just. It's just neat because it's
Yeah.
something that Hermione will do sort of throughout the series, and
Yes.
it's the boys love them. So now they notice then that Snape he's got his eye on them. He comes
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
and he takes he doesn't even notice the fire, and if he does, maybe
Yeah.
he doesn't say anything about it or whatever, but he does take the book, which is I think it's interesting. It's sort of like also maybe he's going to take this because they're playing Slytherin tomorrow. It has
Yeah.
less to do with whether it's
Okay.
actually a rule, because I wondered, is it actually a rule that you can't take these books out on the school
I think
grounds?
Hermione would have known.
I think they're again their first years. I don't think so. Like you can't go outside and read a book. Like if you check it out of the library, I feel
I
like
think you could.
take this
Yeah.
on the school grounds somewhere. And so and Harry says he totally made that rule
Yeah,
up,
I
whatever.
think, yeah.
And it's just not fair. So part of it is, they could have gotten in trouble for the Hermione fire, but they don't. They get in trouble
Yeah.
for the Quidditch book, which is again some sort of strategy again, where Snape's also like, I don't, one, he wanted to pick on them, but then he's also trying to like help out Slytherin by affecting the seeker of the Gryffindor team.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was also wondering if Snape gets so angry about Quidditch in the book and everything because, it's something Harry's got from James.
Yeah, sure.
And
so another reminder. Yeah.
Like
that would make a lot of sense. It's a part of him that angers Snape because it more reflects James than it does Lily. So that would be that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Something interesting though, when he walks up and he has this limp going on, this is no joke. Shout out to one of my colleagues, Dr. Myers, who I work with, and was walking through the school the other day, and hopefully he's all right. I'm sure he doesn't listen, but I'll tell him I gave him a shout out. He was limping through the hallways, and it made me think of Snape a little bit when I because we had read the chapter and we were doing like a curriculum night, and he's walking through. I'm like, yo, did you get in a fight? Like what happened or whatever. And so kind of interesting. But imagine if your teacher shows up with a black eye, and you're like, was my teacher fighting over the weekend or whatever? And actually the colleague I just mentioned, he was a sort of semi-professional boxer.
Oh,
and so would come in with a couple shiners here and there, and kids, and you almost have to explain. No, I actually do this competitively and with a referee and the whole thing, and trains other individuals.
Boxing is a pretty questionable sport to me. Always has been. That they're
interesting, right? Yeah,
it's a good thing if you knock somebody out. To the point they lose consciousness.
Yeah, it's so crazy that's.
Sorry, if you're a professional boxer, it's cool. They're super fit. They're super.
Dun 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 dun.
Not for
Rocky.
me.
Yeah, Rocky Balboa. Yeah. Anyways, just kind of weird. But I just thought it's interesting when you notice your teacher walking in with a limp, and it's sort of like, Mr. Kirk, what happened? Yeah. Are you okay? I mean. So
he wouldn't be lying if he said, a dog bit me and hogs me. Well, that would be lying, but a dog bit me would not be a lie.
Would not be a lie. And if he doesn't know that he's obviously not going to, kind of talk about it or whatever. But I just thought it was kind of interesting from a student's perspective. They notice like their teacher's got a black eye or is limping or something's going on. It makes you be like, aren't you supposed to just be aren't you supposed to just teach? What are you doing?
Right.
You have a life?
You have a life.
It's funny. Okay. So the Gryffindor common room, Charm's homework is done. Hermione is helping them out. Like they're still getting the right answers. They're still looking it over. She at least does make them attempt it.
That's good.
Is very good. So it's first attempted. Yeah, they ultimately get the right answers, but you hope through that there's some learning is going on.
They have to think about what they write. They can't just write anything.
Yeah, and they're getting feedback from Hermione. So technically they're still, she definitely is doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is the night before, and there's some pre-gaming that's going on in this common room that we don't see.
Okay.
I often like to think about what's going on in Hogwarts outside of, the reason
the main story.
Yeah, the main story. So we're so drawn into what Harry's going through. But for example, I would challenge folks to think about things from the Weasley twin perspective, or to think about Oliver Wood while this Charms homework is being done.
Yeah.
Oliver's got his homework done. He is what is her name? Alicia Spinnet?
Are they a couple?
That was one of my questions. If you notice, she was on the bench last year, and she is now a starter. And it said that they were good friends, and is Wood dating someone? I don't remember, actually. I have to go look it up if they actually end up being romantic or not.
I don't think it's ever mentioned.
I don't know.
But I could think so that they have a thing for each other. Mm-hmm. But isn't that, or is it?
It just says that they were close and they're good friends.
Is it Angelina or is it Alicia that Jordan also says?
Oh no, that's
really?
when he's commentating.
Angelina.
Johnson. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
that's who he's talking about. But because he does mention too that Alicia, I think I'm saying her name right.
Alicia, not Alicia. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Alicia.
No. You're right. Angelina is the one Lee Jordan thinks is pretty.
Yeah. Okay.
But
and lets everybody
then
know.
he mentions Alicia.
Spinnet,
I believe, who is Oliver Wood's friend.
Yes.
And who was on the bench last year. So he's like letting you know, he's introducing you to the Gryffindor team.
Yeah.
And sort of talking through those different things.
Which makes me wonder, there's never anything mentioned about like someone on the bench. It's always this team of exactly the same number of
right, they don't mention the bench players. Yeah.
Who are also playing the game. There's no what do you call them? Reserves.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, like, what's are you just are you practicing with them? Because what about Ron being the keeper? But what if
he gets hurt?
What's his
McLaggen.
name? McLaggen was just the second keeper. I mean, in every other sport, you have, reserves and
a backup. I feel like the backups are there. They know that they're there, and they practice on their own or something, and they just are called in. Yeah, because I think later on, actually, there is something to that. But anyway, yeah, I just thought that was interesting. I thought about the celebration that's going on. They're getting ready. We're playing Slytherin, and I know around sports teams around here, there's a lot of pre-gaming. People are like partying, eating, talking trash to the other team. I know all that stuff. So it's great. So I love to think about that from Wood's perspective. He's also probably with Spinnet, like drawing up stuff like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and she's I don't know if there was. I'm gonna look it up and see if there was actually some relationship between them or whatever. Or I can look it up once you get to your segment. But I think that's pretty cool. So anyway, let's see. Yeah. So Harry decides that he's gonna go down and get his book back. Bad decision. He wants it back. He's still just sort of put out about it. And it's this other thing. Think about it. Snape took it from him, and he's still thinking about that, and it's still under his skin. So there you go. Snape has already influenced you mentally. Right, yeah. His goal was just to unnerve you a little bit and to agitate you before the game. So there's a little strategy going on there. But he goes down and realizes that Filch is there. Now, my big question is, why not Madame Pomfrey?
Why not? Right? I feel like you see Snape and Filch a lot in this book together. Right. They seem to be like close or something.
Yeah, and it's totally meant to proximity. It's just it's meant to say, oh, he's up to something sneaky. Why not go up to the medical wing and have it taken care of? But
remember when Ron later on in this book gets bit by the dragon, and they said it's a dog, but Madame Pomfrey is not stupid. She kind of knows it can't be just a dog, and she probably can tell. And I feel like she would not know about about Fluffy, but Filch does know about Fluffy.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe. The other thing I thought too was that perhaps Snape goes to head off Quirrell or something. He's trying to whatever, and he doesn't want Quirrell. It's very much known that you checked into the medical wing with Madame Pomfrey. You check in there. So then Quirrell is sort of on to Snape, realizing Snape's on to me. Right. So to avoid that, he's like, give me Filch and let's just do this.
But at the same time, it's the staff room. Everybody can just walk in there and open the door. Quirrell could have walked in there.
Yeah, for sure. That's true. It's not the
unlocked.
Best. And also, why not just use, he does later on, this is probably just something in the evolution of writing the story. Why can't he just use his own, potion or even just his own? Can you heal yourself?
Oh, I bet you can.
Because remember when Harry uses
Sectum Sempra.
On Malfoy,
and he has maybe it's a specific counter spell to his own invented
that's what
spell.
I was thinking too. Yeah, he has his own counter element to that, whereas this is a natural bite or whatever. So
and it seems pretty deep. Like
definitely
you see a lot of flesh and blood.
Yeah, pretty gross.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, just let's see here. Oh, here we go. So after this though, you have Potter and really Potter. The trio are starting. They'll eventually be they'll buy into Harry's sort of extra instinct here in terms of coming to conclusions that are not entirely correct. Sometimes he's on to something, but not quite.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing with Snape, is that he's close, but he's also not close. Yeah. You know what I mean? So he comes to these conclusions that are wrong. And that's a big theme throughout the whole thing, which is that they're close to the truth,
right?
But there's something else, and I think it's a lesson there in terms of like when you go to speculating and coming to conclusions. I think be careful.
I think that's what Hermione and Ron also think about when in book 6 Harry is on to Malfoy. This time he is right, but they remember
all the times where he has drawn. Not
the wrong conclusion.
The wrong conclusion, like partially, he's almost got like 2 out of the 3, but that third one's pretty big.
Right.
He's like, oh well, I guess we were wrong about Snape, but also Snape's fishy, and so a lot of what he does seems suspicious and sneaky. So you associate it with, well, it must be bad, versus there's a reason why he's trying to do it that way.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Okay, and then Hermione, defending all the teachers, even Snape, willing to defend Snape, even though Snape is clearly. She just loves teachers. She loves learning, and she can't see a teacher doing, you know what I mean, participating in a behavior that Harry sees like so quickly, and it's just like they're blind to Quirrell. You know, it's just interesting.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So yeah, what is the what is the dog guarding? They speculate on this, and you imagine they have no idea. We know now, but in a first read, I wonder if you're somebody who's first going through the series.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? You know, in terms of what it could have been. I don't even remember my first read. It was so long ago. But think about that. If our kids, right, one day are reading through the series, what are they thinking?
Yeah.
And I would be so cool to ask them, I think, in the future, like, what do you think it is?
You're right.
What do you think it is? And
well,
it could
all
be
we know
anything.
is it's super small, but in the wizarding world, you kind of know, okay, if it's super small, it doesn't mean it's not very powerful. You know, like you feel like it's some kind of magical item that's a lot.
Well, and
has a lot of power.
And what the title of the story, right? The Philosopher's Stone, right? You might start to.
Yeah.
So if you're, no, I mean, which is again, you don't know, and you don't really know what that is either. So you're gonna make that sort of connection. Oh, it could be, and that's what you want. Like at first, sometimes you don't always connect the title of the book. You read the title of the book as a kid and you're like, okay, cool, let's read the story. Yeah. And you don't really think much about the title.
Right.
As you move through it. And then by the end you're like, oh my gosh.
There you go.
There you go. Like there it is.
Yeah, but what do you think? What does the stone do?
Yeah, or why is
even
it
if you do
important?
make
Because then you can go kind of beyond like, oh, if you say it's the stone, then from there it's like, well, why are they guarding it? What does it do? And then
But I think throughout all the like magical, witches and wizards lore, you have some kind of magical either, you have wands, you have magical staffs, you have magical stones, right?
That's, magical items. Yeah.
And it's a typical item. I feel like that stones have some magical power because there's also, people believe in crystals and different things that have certain energies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the real genius in what J.K. Rowling does is not just that there's some devilish, professor who's greedy, as like Snape will say later. When he's talking to Voldemort, we just listened to this today.
Yes.
In book 6, that he felt like at the time, what he explains to Voldemort is that he felt like he was just a power hungry,
right,
greedy wizard.
Quirrell,
that he was just this trying to get the stone for himself.
Right.
We know that Snape knows much more than that, and that they're always looking for the return of Voldemort. Yeah. So the beautiful thing with this book is that the way this is set up is we get all this lore on Voldemort. We forget about him. Yeah. We start focusing on this new villain, air quote, Snape.
Yeah.
And it's really Quirrell, and it's actually not Quirrell. It ties you back to the Dark Lord.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just very well. It's very clever, and it's a great start. People kind of miss that. They think it's like kind of boring, but when you're first reading it, that is the cleverness of it. Is that it's a tie-in through this other character who Voldemort is possessing. Yeah. And stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So what do you eat before a big game? That was my big question. Did you eat before your volleyball matches? Were you known to consume a lot of pasta, or did you not eat a whole lot?
So I feel like most of my teammates didn't eat a whole lot. I was more on the side. I learned, now I'm better with that, and I listen. If I'm really hungry in the morning, I'll eat. If I'm not, I won't. But earlier, I was just taught to eat breakfast. If you get up and go somewhere, you gotta eat breakfast before you leave the house. And I love to have porridge or oatmeal. Mm-hmm. Oatmeal, fruit, or sometimes, what else did I eat? I feel like we eat Brötchen a lot in Germany. So
bread,
you're
by
right.
the way.
Oh, now that you say it, sometimes we would have a breakfast if we had a game later that day. So sometimes our games were always on the weekends, and if it would not start sometimes until 1 or 2 o'clock or even 3, we would meet at 9 or 10 to have a big, the whole team comes together. We all bring Brötchen and then Käse, Eier, Milch.
By the way, that is bread, milk, cheese, eggs, Eier.
And then other bread spreads or,
Brötchen
jam, marmalade.
Brötchen mit Himbeerjelly, mit butter.
Avocado.
Yeah.
That good stuff.
So that's
anyway,
cool.
That's I think what we love to do.
When we played football, we would have the whole day. Like the game wouldn't start until 7 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
So most of us, we'd had our meals, but we tried to, after school's over at 2:30, 3 o'clock. Mm-hmm. A lot of some guys would go get food right away because that would be 3 o'clock, and then you still had a good 4 hours until everything was sort of digested. Yeah. And this is probably too much information, but everybody's using the bathroom right before the game, making sure we're good to go. Which is wild. So you did realize you didn't want to eat something super that made you sluggish and super whatever.
No.
Anyway, so Harry is like contemplating like, what is he going to eat here?
He's super nervous.
Super nervous. Should he have a bit of toast? Should he just go in kind of? It's sort of a midday match.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like what do you eat? I've heard professional athletes talk about this and boxers and different people, like they need energy, but at the same time,
They don't want
to be slowed down
by the digestion.
By digestion. So, yeah, just an interesting thing to think about out there if you are a Witcher Wizard athlete playing Quidditch.
Right.
So, as many of you are. I thought it was really heartwarming, too. I mentioned earlier, just, this is not the heartwarming part. Seamus eating sausages with ketchup, but I just wanted to mention that happened, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
The heartwarming bit is Potter for president.
I know.
And the coolest part about this, so Wood is super pumped. He's giving the speech. Dean was a good drawer. He drew like the lion, and then they animated it or whatever.
That's super cool.
And it's actually right before I pass this over to Lottie, there's a part where Harry looks up and sees that, and he gains courage. He gains
feel it almost.
Bravery.
Yes.
He sort of feels a bit braver, and it's because of the support from his friends. And you sort of feel like, there is a moment where they're cheering and rooting for you, and that is helpful. They're counting on me. I can do more than what my body is. Like sometimes your body wants to preserve itself and say, shut down, this is too much. We want to live, we want to move. But you can move beyond that when you feel like there's a team rooting for you, and you feel like I can do this. I can go crazy here because people want this and they need this and they whatever, and I'm doing this for someone or for a group of people beyond myself, and they're up there rooting for him with Potter for president.
That's so cool.
Oh, that was cool. It's a cool image.
I mean, I think if I seen that, I would be so proud and happy and just, but also nervous. Like they are cheering for you, and now what if I now just have like play the worst game of my life, and they had all these.
True, and so that's where you got to. Ron goes through that. That's what Ron goes through. So you have different people and different approaches where, when you see that, can you flip the switch and say, it's time, it's game time?
Yeah.
So we used to talk about that in sports, which is it is time to flip that switch and to give it everything you've got and to try to eliminate the demons, close the door to all of the other noise or the internal struggles and stuff.
Actually, it's so much more common nowadays that professional athletes, they have a whole mental team or people who help them with all this mental stuff going on because most games are like, yes, a lot of it is physical if you can run faster than the other one, but it's so much more than that. It's also, especially in team sports, so much of a mental game. Right. And they just released in Germany about a professional beach volleyball player, Laura Ludwig. And she's awesome. She's Olympic. She won Olympic gold medals, and she talked about how she struggled with her self-esteem and doubt really about the sport and what she's capable of. And on the outside, you would never. I mean, I don't really know her, but what you see when you see her play, you'd have never thought that. But they go through that mental training. It's huge nowadays, which I think is good.
I think a lot of, so whether it's sports or not, I'm about to embark on this in this semester and with courses and stuff, you have to tell yourself, because I did catch myself the other day thinking, is this can I do it? Is it too much? Whether it's an academic task or it's a physical activity or whatever, you catch yourself having those moments, and you've got to build good habits and good sort of routines. You've got to talk to yourself positively. You need to seek out some sort of, whether it's a coach pushing you along, or it's this banner for Harry that he sees. Sometimes it's external, and then sometimes it's internal, but having a combination of both is great, to help you. Having a good support system around you is huge. So like you and I talking, being on the same page about what all the things I want to do this semester is huge. Like if I don't have that, then I kind of feel like, oh, mama, can I do that? Like you start to, doubt will creep in. And where we actually can do a lot more
than we think sometimes.
That really true. I would say, like a lot more. And if you're out there thinking, I don't know if I can do it, you can. You've just gotten into a habit of telling yourself that very thing, which is that I'm not so sure if I can do it. But telling yourself that you can really goes a long way. And I noticed that when I was working out, when I was playing sports, just going through different things. We all have our ups and downs, but It's just a cool moment, I guess, for Harry and just
to walk out there. Yeah,
connect to life. So, all right.
Yeah, I was a little not disappointed, but like, with Oliver's speech it's short. I mean, sometimes you can't really listen anyway. If they went through the tactic numerous times before. They practiced really, really good and hard. So now all really he has to say is, it's the big one, and he knows they're going to win. And that's obviously like if you hear that he trusts his team and he knows they're all doing their best. That's cool. But also, what would you like, I remember my time here in the States when I was in high school for a year, and I played sports. I played volleyball. I was a swimmer too. And before every volleyball game and before every swim meet, we would have like these pump up sessions where you get together and you just like do chant or whatever, or like do some, the kind of yelling and stuff to get pumped. What do you think? If you were the Quidditch you are the former Quidditch captain of the Hufflepuff team. How did you cheer up your team right before the game starts?
So it's normal. I'll speak from experience here. Maneuvers, doing something as a group and as a unit. Yeah. When I played football, it was Jacket Jacks. We got out there. So Jacket Jacks was, we would spell out sort of our mascot. We would do a couple things. Our coach brought us in, and he had this chant. And we would kind of get in around him. He'd be in the center, and he would get us fired up. Yeah. Like you had your normal standard stuff, right? Which every game we did Jacket Jacks. Every game the coach would get in the center, and he would do. I forget how it goes. I think if somebody started it, I would probably remember it and fall right back into line because we did it, for 4 years every game. Yeah. But then there were special games like this one, right? So for Oliver Wood, this is your rivalry game. This is against Slytherin. Yeah. So I'll never forget, just a quick aside, we had our rivalry game. Our coach wore a tie, dressed up that day, dressed up all week long. It was that rivalry week, gave a big speech, turned the lights out in the locker room, I got chills. I get chills thinking about it because he shut the lights out on us and had us all, it was all his voice. We couldn't see each other. We couldn't nothing. And he said, like we all came in, got a knee, and he's like, listen to my voice. And like we had to like settle in, and just his voice guided us through this, like visualizing our win, focusing, all this different stuff, focus. And I was like, wow, I'll never forget that. So you feel like Oliver Wood, again, they've got what happens here really is the Weasley twins interrupt the speech. Yeah. And he can't even get it out. And it's like, oh, shut up, you two, and like, sort of move on. So they're not taking it as serious, but it's almost unfortunate because Oliver's like,
Yeah, he's really ambitious about this.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was, I don't know. I felt like he is pumped up about it, but there is not this, I don't know. I feel like sometimes it can be an American thing where you do that in high school a lot. And because we do that too, like, where our coach would have a little tiny talk, and then he was like, okay, ladies, let's go. And then you put all your arms together.
Team on 3.
And then like, Yeah. Like Gryffindor.
Yeah.
And then you walk out and you're like, with your chest up and
right.
But I don't know, they don't really do that, so I feel like
well, again,
something Harry could improve.
What's interesting too is that J.K. Rowling had to do a lot of research on Quidditch, right? And wasn't necessarily a sports fan, but wanted that sports element and turned to soccer.
Yeah, and she didn't really enjoy writing it.
Right, exactly. So but it was a great element to include, and it feels really natural and parallels like real life. But I feel like if she would have been more of a sports fan, that's definitely something you would have included. You would have talked up his speech. You would have done something like this that people would be like, oh my gosh. So it's just another layer. It's there, but it's one of, I don't want to say a weaker layer, but like there's more that could have been done with Quidditch. Yeah, for sure. I think. Yeah. But
I also, now that I think about it, what do you think? Like Marcus Flint's speech looks like. Are they just all
I bet
grunting in there?
Yeah, I mean it could have been. So I mean when they break the huddle, I feel like it's beat Gryffindor on 3. Yeah. Right? Yeah, or something like that, right?
Yeah. Like all you have to do, guys, is like
1, 2, 3, beat Gryffindor.
It doesn't matter what it takes. If you have to follow them, you follow them.
Actually, that kind of reminds me of a speech my coach gave one time. We were playing a team that was way better than us. Yeah. And he was like, I don't care if you guys have to. I know holding's a penalty. if you got to hold him, you hold him. Like, he was sort of like, Coach, we're not allowed
Yeah.
to do that. He's like, I don't care, do it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
I feel like that's what he would say to his team. Anyway. But, I mean, Gryffindor starts off pretty good. They're scoring a couple times, and
Yeah.
it is, I think it's such a cool element that a student gets to comment the game. I don't know if that was always the case or if Lee Jordan just one day said, hey, I can do a better job than Professor
So-and-so. Yeah.
Binns.
Oh,
Can
my
you imagine
goodness.
Professor Binns commenting on Quidditch?
No, I cannot.
Okay, but he's a natural, and it's so cool that he is, and you see that all the time if students show a talent in a certain, extracurricular activity like drama, or you have a school radio or school TV show, that they later on even relate to that. And it's cool that Jordan, who does the commentary and everything, that he later on has the Potter Watch station.
Yeah.
The radio station when the war is going on. And I think that's such a good, cool idea. And I also think it's hilarious that he's this, he's a Gryffindor, so it's not very professional of him to comment on Slytherin like this. But I feel like he wouldn't if Slytherin wouldn't be this aggressive and, do foul plays and stuff.
Right.
And he throws in just funny comments about, Angelina and stuff. And Professor McGonagall, standing, in the movie at least, standing right next to him and always like kind of scolding him for, Jordan!
Right, yeah.
Jordan!
Just all over him because he's definitely biased.
But he's definitely biased and he says things he shouldn't be saying. But then it's out there and all she does is just say like, Jordan, like next time, but she just says it all the time. She never really acts on it because I feel like internally she's like, yeah, he's right. And yeah, he's funny. But I'm a teacher, so I have to kind of
outwardly she has to say something. Yeah, yeah.
And I think that continues on in other games later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Gryffindor starts off pretty good. Everyone's watching. Hagrid even comes over. He could technically watch from his hut, but he comes over to be in the crowd, he says. It's not the same if you're just on your own, just watching from afar in your little hut. And he doesn't really get... Now that he has friends like Hermione and Ron, it's cool that he can now stand with his students and it wouldn't be weird or anything,
Yeah.
So they're all cheering on Harry, and then all of a sudden, the broom freaks out and tries to throw Harry off.
Yep, jinxed.
And Hermione, she's super quick. She's like, okay, something is up. This is a really, really high quality broom. This can't be just a jinxed broom. Like, it wouldn't do that on its own. So somebody has to be the one who jinxes the broom. And I wonder if she, because she always said, no, Snape would never do things like that. But because he was being mean before that, right before the game, and they have been talking about it all the time, that's why she probably went to look at him pretty quickly. She could have also if she looked a little closer, Quirrell was also muttering, probably. So
yeah, true.
Just because they already had this suspicion against Snape, that's probably why she, even if it was subconsciously, saw him first. And she rushes over to distract him from Harry because she knows, she's well read. She knows you have to be super focused on the person or the thing you want to jinx. What she doesn't know, he's actually muttering a counter jinx or counter spell or whatever. But and we get this little hint again, she knocks over Professor Quirrell.
Oh yeah, just bumps into him, knocks him over, no big deal.
Yeah, and
Quick
that's
little thing that
that's
happens.
that little moment that breaks up the connection or the focus of Quirrell. And I guess she doesn't really pay attention if Harry's broom stops acting up right away, because she still goes and produces those flames again to distract Snape. But the end result is, by her knocking over Quirrell, Harry's saved. But then you kind of think like, okay, couldn't he just start focusing again on him and start muttering again, whatever. But I think it happens so quickly that he's freed, and then he sees the snitch and catches it with his mouth.
Yeah.
And we were talking earlier about, how this is how does Snape explain this later to Voldemort? Because we learn Quirrell knows Snape muttered a counter jinx. We know that because he tells Harry later on, no, it was, Snape was trying to save you. So if Quirrell knows, then Voldemort knows. And that would, as Voldemort, that would be kind of weird because Snape says, yeah, I didn't know that the Dark Lord was possessing Quirrell. He just thought Quirrell, like you said, is greedy and just there's something fishy about him.
Right.
But this was not about the stone. It was about Harry. Why would he save Harry if he was so loyal to Voldemort? I know he said, I thought he was gone and finished and whatever. But that would make, as Voldemort, and especially Voldemort knows about his feelings for Lily, which is pretty crazy. I don't know. It would make me doubt a lot. Like, it would take a lot for Voldemort to really believe him since he saved Harry.
Well, I actually would be even more convinced, though, if I were Voldemort and he said, well, I did it because it's, Lily's son.
Yeah.
And at the time, you were gone.
Yeah.
And you were defeated, and you know how much I cared for her. I feel like sometimes to convince, you've got to litter in a little bit of this, okay, that's believable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and although I don't like it, Snape, right? That's not something I want to hear or whatever. He's like, well, he is. You know what I mean? Like Lily Potter is extremely powerful, and that, like, the Potter family was a powerhouse family, and I think Voldemort appreciates that type of blood and stuff like that. Like, it's almost, I always felt like Voldemort really felt like it's unfortunate that he has, because he says at the end he doesn't want Neville and those other individuals to
join him.
Just like he wants them to join him, but like he doesn't necessarily want to spill unnecessarily wizard blood.
Yeah, wizard blood.
Yeah, so I feel like that's somewhat would have been okay for Snape to sort of say, you weren't around. He does acknowledge, like, hey, just like everyone else, because he says to Bellatrix that if Voldemort wouldn't have forgiven some of those who lost faith, he'd have very few friends, and all of his friends would have been in Azkaban.
Yeah.
There weren't, like, you had Lucius Malfoy who did the same thing, who had to explain, why didn't you go seeking for me, and why didn't you whatever, and all these different things. And it's like, well, I mean, he stayed at the post. He had a great value. Had no idea that Voldemort was back. It was such a secret that Quirrell was there.
Yeah.
He did everything he could to fight him off.
Yeah.
And to save Potter was more of a Lily move. It just sort of shows that he was, because he knows that he's had a history with Voldemort to say, hey, I told you to spare her, and he has her eyes and stuff. And so, also he could even say Dumbledore, at Dumbledore's orders, this is what I had to do to stay in Dumbledore's good graces. I was instructed to look after the boy. I mean, that's all stuff he could say.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, Severus, that's believable.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I guess. It's just, strange in that moment. And he says it too, that the Dark Lord didn't trust him at the time.
No, he didn't trust him. Exactly. It took time. It took things like the Chamber of Secrets. It took all of this. I mean, again, there's that moment, and then not until he is summoned, right?
Yeah.
It's actually a couple years later, even until, like, Snape can put it off and say, I didn't know that you had anything to do with this. And so then I just remained at my post from that time forward after Quirrell until you returned through Peter Pettigrew. Yeah. With, his help.
I wonder, so I looked it up, not to confuse it with the movie, if Voldemort actually later in this book asks Harry to join him. So he says, don't be a fool when he asks him for the stone. Better save your own life and join me, or you will meet the same end as your parents. Do you think if Harry actually said, okay, I'm going to join you, and was on board and was like, yeah, like almost like Peter, out of fear or out of power hunger, who knows, would Voldemort let him?
I think he would have used him for something. I think for a time he might have let him believe that he was on his side, but ultimately I think he would have used him in some way.
let's say the whole scenario with Harry actually says, okay, I'm going to be your friend, Draco. And then he befriends Draco and he gets close to him and maybe meets his parents. And then later on, he even says, yeah, Voldemort, I'm going to join you. I mean, this is crazy. This is not Harry, and it was never meant to happen. But I think, like you said, Voldemort doesn't want to spill magical blood, and he thinks Harry is super powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think, like you said, for a while, he would actually keep him alive and not kill him right away.
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
And see what he grows into and maybe make him a weapon instead of his. Yeah, I don't know. It's all theoretical, obviously. And
sure.
It's never meant to happen that way. But he actually, he asked him, do you want to join me? Never mind. Okay, back to the Quidditch match. So Harry is free. His broom, he's back in control over his broom. And this is where we really don't get Harry's perspective, but more like Hermione, Ron, and Hagrid's. And they just describe what they see. But what is, like, Harry is trying to really stay on this broom, and the next moment he feels like, oh, okay, it's over. Like, I have control back. And then the next thing, right away, he sees the snitch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, it happens, I think, in a matter of seconds where he sees it, and then he does that dive, almost like when he saved the Remembrall. But then how does he catch it with his mouth? He just, I don't know, if it feels like more like he doesn't really realize what's happening. He just gained control back, and maybe he was a little too fast. So instead of reaching his hand out, you know what I mean? Like he was like so excited he saw the snitch that he dived down, and then he was already so close to the snitch that instead of reaching his hand, he just opened his mouth. And this whole thing ties into the 7th book later on.
Yeah. Yeah.
That it's important that he catches it with his mouth, because otherwise he couldn't have touched it. And Dumbledore could not have hidden the stone, the resurrection stone, in there. And also, fun fact, if the snitch, it's supposed to remember the first touch, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So you have to have a different snitch for every game, because it's doing that, so it can recognize in case of a very close not tie, but like you don't really know who caught it first.
Yeah.
You could recognize which one it was. But then what if you have your skin already touches it, like you barely touch it and then you miss it and then the other one goes? Am I the one then who technically caught it because I touched it? Because you touched it, yeah. I feel like you have to really catch it and have it in your hand.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But anyway, so Madam Hooch says there's nothing wrong with catching it with your mouth. And Marcus Flint is not happy about that. He tries to argue, but Madam Hooch is like, no. And I feel like Madam Hooch is even happy that Gryffindor wins, because she does not, she's the referee. She would have, never been unfair to Slytherin either, but she also does not want to support their unfair play with fouls and everything. Anyway, so Gryffindor is partying, and we know from later books what kind of party they throw in their common room. But in this book, we never really join that party. They go over to Hagrid's hut right away after the game. Mm-hmm. And it gets pretty serious, and just like that other chapter, it just ends in Hagrid's hut, where they figure out more about the stone and the secret and who's guarding it and all that stuff, because Hagrid cannot, keep his mouth shut. And it's like, Hagrid, we love you, but what the heck?
Right,
like,
that's a
Dumbledore
problem.
Trusts you with everything he has, problem. And you...
I think it's really just Harry in the group, though. I know he does stumble a little bit in pubs and stuff like that, and and obviously talked and told something about Fluffy that also got out to Quirrell and stuff. So that's a bit of an issue. But normally it's because of a trust thing, like he trusts them and that he lets his guard down around them. The worst part about it is that he lets his guard down in those pubs. And
it's like the second time when he. So we learned that Fluffy got from a Greek person, by the way. Mm-hmm. Fluffy, who's Cerberus, we learned, like the 3-headed dog, which is Greek mythology. And he got it from a Greek person, pretty cool. And then Fluffy later on returns even to Greece because Dumbledore's like, nah, we can't keep him around here. Mm-hmm. Anyway, but then he gets the dragon also in a pub, and now I'm thinking, does he go down to the pub in hopes that someone with a new magical beast and monster will come along and
Traveler from far away in the pack.
yeah, but at the same time, yeah, Hagrid, why?
Right.
They figure out Nicholas Flamel, and now we know, we heard this, and we actually read this name when Harry saw the card, Dumbledore's card, frog. What are they called? Frog.
Chocolate
Frog cards.
Mm-hmm.
And he reads the description about Dumbledore. Nicholas Flamel is mentioned there. Now, do you remember when you first read the book, do you remember if you felt like you've heard that name before?
Yeah, I can't remember at all. It's been
Me
so
neither.
many years or whatever. So,
Did you actually read the book before you saw the movie?
no,
See,
I actually
me neither. Yeah, so
I don't think I did. So no.
that's why I'm like, I don't really remember, because I saw the movie first, and then you already knew when you were reading the
Yeah,
book.
I think I wasn't allowed to read the book at first. Wasn't allowed
Oh,
to
yeah,
see
that's
the
right.
movie, and then I finally snuck the movie in, and then I ended up reading all the books after that. So,
Yeah.
or whatever was out at the time, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, okay. Any other remarks on this chapter?
No, I think it's a good chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Good fun introduction to Quidditch and different things, and then just more of the mystery, drawing conclusions from Snape's limp, and then the curse and the jinx, and just a lot of different things that structured for like a reread to come back through and say, oh, there's this, there's that, and pretty cool actually.
Yeah.
So, no, overall great chapter. And I love it. And again, going forward, one of the things I like to do is speculate from different characters' perspectives. So like Wood's perspective, or other professors who might have been watching the Quidditch game. Did they notice what was going on? Why didn't they do something?
Right. Yes. True.
Why is it Hermione? You know what I mean?
I
Snape's
know.
clearly seeing it and doing something. They're very smart and
But
intelligent.
everyone else is
so
just watching, so.
yeah, what was McGonagall thinking during that
Dumbledore,
time,
yeah.
etc.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some advice for the week here after this chapter, after reading this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And we mentioned this in the chapter, actually, even if through your eyes everything seems to point at someone being guilty, don't just assume until there's actual proof of their guilt. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
drawing your own conclusions can sometimes do more damage than good.
Right. Yep. Yeah, there's a thing. If something seems suspicious or whatever, you can be on guard for sure. If you need to be, you might be totally wrong. But at the same time, there's the one time where you are on guard and it
Yeah.
saves your life, or it saves
I know.
other people. Like that's okay and necessary. But I guess too, it's a touchy subject, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
like you also don't want to. We talk about reputation as a school teacher being a
Right.
currency that sometimes, again, Harry could be going around talking about Professor Snape, thinking
Mm-hmm.
he's a bad guy, and all of a sudden he's the word out there is his reputation is being sort of destroyed a little bit because of all this, and that's also a part that he has to play. It's a magical world or whatever, but sometimes those things happen where reputation is currency, and people will use it against one another just by coming to these different conclusions.
Right.
And I think that's something people should be on
Careful
guard for, and careful about your thoughts, and sort of weighing whether it's but at the same time you got to be careful, and you got to again, Snape does a lot of stuff.
He does a lot. That's not okay. Yeah.
That's not okay, but also that looks fishy and suspicious. So again, like that's okay to say something. Perception is everything sometimes.
Right.
So sometimes it's too much. Sometimes it's what I know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, as it is with all things, find a balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, okay.
Yep. All right. Well, I think is that it? Anything else?
No. I'm so ready to go to the bathroom right now.
Yeah, I figured. Okay. And just so you know, my neck is totally out of whack. Why? Why do you think my neck's totally out of whack? Why do you think my neck is?
Because you can't stop staring at me.
That's Okay, yeah, we'll end on that. That's great. All right, friends. Well, hey, that is all for this week. Thanks for tuning into Shell Cottage Radio, 94.7 COZY. We hope you'll join us in the future. We thoroughly enjoy meeting new positive Potter people that don't behave like babbling, bumbling bands of baboons.
Baboons!
If you don't want to miss the next episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review and follow on social media at fleurandbill.
Also, we want to invite you to check out our YouTube channel, Harry Potter Hangout. We're having a lot of fun creating short videos there, covering more Wizarding World background information and theories. If you truly enjoy our content, consider supporting our growing Wizarding family on Patreon or Apple Premium at Fleur and Bill. Thank you so much to all our current Patreons. We appreciate you to the moon and back. You know that. Next week, we will discuss Chapter 12 of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, The Mirror of Erised, or Desire. So definitely don't miss out on next week's episode. Again, thanks for joining Blur's Book Club in their little shell cottage today. We know it's not much, but it's home.